Rogue One, The Last Jedi, and the most recent Solo movie. While I wasn't a huge fan of Solo, I appreciated it and I thought it was fun. And I highly recommend at least seeing it before it leaves theaters, which is probably really soon if it hasn't left your theater already. But I highly recommend seeing it. It's super fun. But Disney and Lucasfilm said that they're going to be trying to reshift their views on these solo story, or like the standalone Star Wars movies that they've been doing. Because one of the rumored ones was Kenobi. And everyone's just like chomping at the bit and foaming at the mouth and, oh, we got to get a new Ewan McGregor Kenobi movie. I see it on all these, anytime I see it shared by any page on Facebook, there's hundreds of comments of Ewan McGregor Kenobi movie, Ewan McGregor, Kenobi movie. I'll say that 5 times fast. But for me, we had, the original trilogy where Obi-Wan was in all 3 movies in some aspect. Then we had the prequel movies, and he was in all 3 movies. And then we had the Clone Wars show, and he's in that through most of it. Almost all of it, if not almost every episode. And then we had Star Wars Rebels, and they brought him back for that to finish up the storyline from the Clone Wars of him and Darth Maul. I don't really know what more else they can show for Obi-Wan. I mean, they've shown almost his whole life, except for what happened before Episode 1. And I'll be honest, I don't really care much to see that. And I mean, they've even touched on that in the comic books, because they had, an Obi-Wan. Well, I guess it was Obi-Wan and Anakin, but Marvel, the most recent Marvel comic series. But even with that, I personally wouldn't really want to see a young Obi-Wan with Qui-Gon. While it would be cool to see Qui-Gon back again, I just really don't want to see. I'm just not interested in seeing that. I think, his Obi-Wan story has been told, and if they were to do a Kenobi movie set in between 3 and 4, it's going to be, a lot of him just being a hermit in his shed that he lives in. And I don't really think that that's something that even non-Star Wars fans and even most Star Wars fans would really want to see. I mean, some of them are saying they want to see it, but I think once it comes around time for them to actually see it, I feel like they're going to probably hate it. And because I don't find essentially a Castaway style movie with Obi-Wan to be that good. I mean, I've already seen Castaway. It was great. Tom Hanks did great in it. I don't need to see it again, but have it Star Wars Castaway, because I feel like that's what it would be. And I personally feel like they should be exploring more newer characters. And if they want to stick with characters that we've already seen established, do a bounty hunter style movie where it's, like Bosk or Dengar and Boba, and they're doing bounty hunter missions, like something like that. Or because I know they've hinted at in some of the newer Star Wars canon books post-Disney buyout that Boba Fett survived the Sarlacc pit. They've hinted at it, and they could use a Boba Fett movie to establish it, have it, and they don't even have to have it involve Luke Skywalker or Han Solo. They could just have Boba Fett. He's like, well, I just survived, the Sarlacc pit, and he goes back to trying, and it could be a story of him trying to become Mandalore. I mean, have it all Mandalorians and have it establish, a new culture of the Mandalorians in the new Star Wars movies. Because outside of Boba Fett and Jango in these Star Wars movies, I think we've seen one other set of Mandalorian armor, and it was just like a mantelpiece, so to speak, for the villain in the Han Solo movie. So I think it would be really cool for them to establish the Mandalorians within the Star Wars universe even more than they already have. Don't make them out to be some sort of like ancient race, or like some like small little dwindling population of this civilization. I want to see it. I think it would be really cool for them to touch on that. But I want to know what you guys think. I know, like I said, the majority of people, they feel like it like a Kenobi movie is a good idea or a Yoda movie is a good idea. But Let me know what you guys think. Do you think that there's too much of them already in the Star Wars universe, and you want to see new characters, or do you think it'd be perfectly fine to see, an Obi-Wan movie or a Yoda movie? Let me know what you guys think. Transitioning to the only thing in books that I'm going to talk about right now. I just finished the Star Wars Battlefront 2 tie-in book. It was called Inferno Squad, and even though I'd already played the campaign in Star Wars Battlefront 2, knowing what happens, which I won't give spoilers, I was greatly impressed by this book. I thought it was a great tie-in, and I'm pretty sure I started and finished it in 2 nights. And it was like 300 some pages, but it was really, really good. I was greatly impressed by it, and the storytelling was tremendous. It was captivating. The descriptions of everything, there was parts where I found myself, my palms were getting sweaty because I was nervous for the situations that were happening, I would read like 6 chapters and I'd want to finish the 7th one, to finish out the story. But like I said, I thought the story was really well done. Really no real complaints with the book. I thought it was great. But yeah, check it out. It's called Inferno Squad. I honestly can't remember the author's name, but I know I've read other books that she's written. But anyway, yeah, I'll post it on the socials. I highly recommend it. I know it came out like a year ago, but I just now got around to reading it. But if there's any other books that you think I might be interested in, I think I'm getting ready to start the King Killer Chronicles. My buddy Nathan has praised those books like over and over again. I finally got a copy of the first one. I'm going to start reading it and dive into that. But yeah, let me know what you guys think about the book, if you've read it or if you plan on reading it. But yeah, like I said, if there's any other books you think I might be interested in, let me know. But moving on to tabletop games, Dungeon of Fortune, like I said, it's a card-based game from a company called Tasty Minstrel Games. Check them out. They have really good tabletop games. Haven't been disappointed with them yet. But it's a game for 2 to 6 players, and it takes roughly about 30, maybe 45 minutes to play. My family, we played the full 6 players. I know the sweet spot, quote unquote sweet spot for the gameplay they've said is 4 players, but like I said, we played the full 6, and it was a blast. It was fun, and but the game, it's a press your luck dungeon crawler card game, but it's not a typical like dungeon crawler type game where it's cooperative and you're trying to defeat the dungeon together. This is every player for themselves in this one, and so the game is played by each player picking a unique character, and those characters have their own unique abilities. And essentially those characters have their own companions, and it's your group of people trying to like raid this dungeon, and everyone has their own group of people and they're trying to raid the dungeon themselves too. And each turn is the players take turns flipping the cards from the deck that might give you a reward, or it might give you enemies to face off with in the dungeons with your own personal companions. And each player, like I said, has their own party that they send down based on the level that they're at. And the cards work like this. There's the bad guy cards, and they have different requirements to defeat the enemies based on how deep you go into each dungeon. And then there's the treasure chests, which give you coins, and you can use those to help. Basically, at the end of the game, whoever has the most coins at the end, they win. And then there's the dragon cards, which per the rules, they don't do much. So you have to you flip one down, and then you keep going. And then once you get to the 3rd dragon on your turn, if you go that far, that's when you actually have to fight that 3rd dragon. But I don't think we played it that way. I'm pretty sure that we changed it up and we each just fought each dragon that we came across, which I felt like made it more fun for the amount of players that we had for the game. And but if you run out of companions on your turn, which I think are called delves, then you have to flee and you lose everything gained that turn. But if you choose to leave before you run out of companions, then you get to keep everything you gained on that turn. But if you choose to keep going, say you only use one companion, and you choose to keep going, and then you come across a dragon or something, and you have to use all 3 of your companions, but you only have 2, then you lose your turn, and you lose everything that turn. But you earn XP by defeating the bad guys and the dragons, which help you level up, and you get more and or different companions as you level up. One thing I really enjoyed in this game, I liked, was the bravery bonus, which gives you 2 coins for simply being the last character to leave the dungeon. The only thing that seemed kind of iffy about the whole like bravery bonus, though, is that choice of being the last to leave the dungeon is most of the time not really in your hands. It's out of your control. But I thought that was a cool aspect to throw in there, to give a couple more extra coins to players and stuff like that for trying to push their luck, essentially, and go deeper into the dungeon. I do know that this game hasn't been some people's cup of tea, based on reviews throughout the last the last year or so. But if nothing else, I highly recommend at least trying this game with some of your friends or family. It's super fun, and it's just a blast to play. And like I said, I highly recommend it at least once. But I give this 4 out of 5. But like I said, the game's called Dungeon of Fortune, and it's by Tasty Minstrel Games. And I think you can get it on Amazon for about $18, I think is how much it was last time I checked. But yeah, I highly recommend checking it out. Okay, also in regards to tabletop games, I've been fortunate enough to be able to start other tabletop games with my family and friends, including games like Dead of Winter and Zombicide. And now in regards to Zombicide, my uncle, he's been doing a lot of homebrew characters that he's made from like the Forgotten Realms and stuff like that. And here soon we're trying to work out a way to get my Demon Hunter from Diablo 3 as a playable character in that game as well. So I'll be sure to post pictures and stuff like that of like the miniature once we get those done. And I'll be doing a review for Zombicide probably in the future as well. It's a very fun game. If you ever get a chance to play it, I know like the modern version, like the play cards for each character are slightly different than what they are in like the fantasy, and I think there's a sci-fi one as well. I'm not really sure, but the modern one, it's a different setup than the other two. And I know he wasn't a huge fan of how the play cards were, and I wasn't either. I didn't really care for how they looked. But yeah, I highly recommend Zombicide as well. Alright everyone, that brings me to the very end of the 3rd episode. And like I said, you can find me on all the socials, Scruffy Looking Nerd Herders on Facebook, and the SLNH podcast on Twitter and on Instagram. Like I said, be sure to rate the show on iTunes, or, give good ratings if you enjoy it, or if there's, you don't enjoy it, give a rating that you think is appropriate for how you thought I did. But let me know if you have any suggestions or ideas for topics you'd like for me to discuss. Like I said, be sure to follow me on all the socials. I keep you up to date on when episodes are going to be coming out. Unfortunately, if there's any delays or stuff like that, I always keep you updated. But yeah, let me know if you have any thoughts or ideas for any topics you'd like for me to discuss as well. As always, I'm your host, Tyler, and may the Force be with you.